I want to talk about your stepping into Zimbabwe. You have to be a brave man to be going into there. Because just yesterday, we had regulations being promulgated that suggested that any foreign company operating assets worth more than $500,000 in Zimbabwe ought to have 51% of its assets controlled by indigenous Zimbabweans, black Zimbabweans.
Yeah.
And you're going in.
Well, the relationship that we have established is a 50-50 relationship, so it looks as though we may have to dilute out of 1% in order to comply. Yeah. Yes, yes. Yeah. But it's early steps. We think we've found a fairly attractive ore body, which we want to explore. The amount of capital that we will be investing initially is very modest, and it's very much a situation of making sure that we don't miss the bus. That we are there when circumstances change, because I believe they still will change. Finding the right partner, I think we have found the right partner. Making sure that we understand enough about the ore body so that as and when we need to invest, that we know what it is that we will be investing in.
Sure. And in terms of your dealings with the authorities, how has that been? Have you been told about these new regulations beforehand?
We rely pretty much on our local partner to assist us through that process. And I must add that the administrative process in Zimbabwe works well. The officials are efficient. They know what they are required to do. The process works well. It's only at one level that there seems to be uncertainty in Zimbabwe.
And so when you look at Zimbabwe, I was going to call it an operation. No, you say it's not an operation yet. You are developing it.
Yeah.
When do you see perhaps things beginning to be ramped up a little bit and production coming through?
Well, we'll have exploration over the next 12 months, defining the ore body, drilling some holes. We'll do some bulk sampling by way of a gravity-based process.
Sure.
And that will give us an indication as to what the potential of the asset might be.
And in terms of the value?
We'll all find out. It's early days. It's really early days at this stage.
Okay. Let's talk about the numbers that you reported today. You're back into the black after the loss the previous quarter. It's a big swing, 13.1 cents the previous loss in the September quarter, now up 1.4 cents per share earnings in the December quarter. Just the major factors that impacted that. We know the gold price was higher, but you've also been keeping a very tight lid on costs.
Yes, our production was up, costs went down. We're very encouraged by these numbers because we came out of a labour strike. For the first 2 weeks of the quarter, we still had a labour strike. Underground operations were affected by that, surface operations not so much, not the production side.
Right.
Costs were managed really tightly during the quarter as well. And of course, with the increase in production, slightly down on costs, and the gold price going up, we did see a significant swing in the financial outcome.
But how did you get costs down 8% in an environment where we know inflation, yes, has been trending lower, but we do know that for the gold miners in particular, costs would have been higher because we saw higher electricity prices last year, and we know the miners have been demanding higher wages.
Yes. Look, we had a restructuring process at our Blyfer mine. We started in the previous quarter, and that process was finalized. So we had about 300 fewer employees to pay at Blyfer. The corporate office, we shrunk by about a third last year as well, so those costs came down quite a bit as well. We came out of winter tariffs. The electricity tariffs are lower in summer than they are in winter, so that also helped. And then we had to be very tight on expenditure. We were very tight on expenditure because we came out of a pretty dismal quarter last time round.
And in terms of those costs, do you see this being maintained going forward?
Yes, I think our costs are probably on a fairly flat trend at this stage.
Right.
We'll be affected by increases in major items, and in our presentation later today, we'll give a breakdown of the major items and what percentage of total costs they comprise. But yes, insofar as the items that we can control, I think we will have a fairly steady trend over the next few quarters.
Is there life for Blyfer after this?
I think so, yes. We placed Blyfer under judicial management in the previous quarter because we were concerned about hostile creditor action. But we also said to the market that we would work towards March in lifting it from judicial management once we've restored access back into high-grade areas. And we are seeing a definite improvement in the underground grades. The surface circuit is doing very well. You'll see that the surface circuit in the last quarter produced gold at just under 80,000 Rand a kilo. So that's always been a very robust circuit, but the bigger component of its overhead is the underground circuit, and their grade plays a significant role. So those costs, I think we've got under control. Now it's the quality of the ore that we pull out, and the quality of the ore is improving as we regain access to the high-grade areas.
Sure. You talk about the bugbear of every South African industrialist that you talk to who exports the rand, and you're complaining that the rand doesn't show any signs of weakening. When I was coming here, I think I had the figure of 767 against the dollar, which is far better than 735. Do you want it beyond 767 or perhaps to 8 rand dollar? What are you looking for?
I'm not a big proponent of this concept of a weak rand, quite honestly. So much of what we do here is imported. All of our fuel is imported, or we are affected by the oil price, the dollar price in oil. If and that just flows right through the organization in the event that there's a significant increase in fuel prices. So I'm happy to see a strong rand, but happier to see a strong dollar price in gold.
Indeed. And do you see that happening?
Well, you never know. You ask me between breakfast and supper, and I might have a different answer. The American economy seems so volatile.